shoring and exploratory demolition into the pre-construction phase. But Ed and I actually think part of why we decided to present it this way is that we think this will make it more appealing for contractors.
Oh, good.
Because they're only providing a fixed fee for the scope that we are able to describe really well right now, and the things that they'll be able to really clearly observe in the building walkthrough. And there's no obligation for the contractor to try to provide a fee for the repair work that is as yet not completely known.
That's what that's the way I was understanding it, and I feel like it makes this less risky for our contractors, so there may be more interest, and it also may help them sort of keep their costs reasonable, and so thank you for that.
The thing, you described what's in the scope of that pre-construction, and the reason that I think this is a really smart move is because all those pre-construction work elements are fairly well defined. So there's not a lot of risk that somebody would shoot a super high number at it because it's unknown, because you basically have said, the biggest item would be this exploratory demolition, but you said that's pretty well defined too. So I agree, this is probably a really good way to go. And then if they know that it's gonna be competitively bid, if they're gonna give us an estimate, I like it. You're gonna have contract documents. You're clearly defining the work. Whenever the work is not clearly defined, the numbers go up.
Okay. Right.
Unless you're dealing with somebody you really trust.
Definitely. So based on the description of work that we put in both the pre-construction phase and the construction phase services, kind of the only risk that a contractor, once they propose their fixed fee for the pre-construction services, they may technically the first step of construction phase services is putting together that initial cost estimate of the construction documents, and that the contractor is basically taking on at risk. The preparing of a cost estimate, but it's basically giving the selected general contractor an opportunity to be the first bidder, so to speak, or to have a negotiated, continue the GCCM relationship with the county in order to provide the construction phase services. So again, both my coworker Ed and I think that this will be the most appealing to contractors as well.
Excellent.
So I'm going to touch on and ask for a little bit of input from you guys on most of the items that I left highlighted. The first has to do with how we will publish the RFQ. We have listed there on the first page and elsewhere that we will publish it in the Billings Builders Exchange. Is that how you guys normally issue RFQs for contracting work? Are there any other publications we should list?
Legally, we have to notice it in 2 newspapers locally, and we always notice it in the Roundup Record Tribune. And then we usually put it in the Yellowstone County News because it's more cost effective than the Billings Gazette.
But where do you think it would get the greatest visibility?
I think the Exchange.
Most exposure.
I think the Billings Builders Exchange directors definitely. That said, even our firm checks Yellowstone County News weekly. We survey that publication for RFPs and RFQs, so I think all of those are really good. I think we'll be in a good position. We also can and will notify some contractors, a few that have talked with High Plains and have already expressed interest in a project of this scope. And we will just refer them to those publications, or hey, check the Billings Builders Exchange, a project been posted there recently.
And whenever you get a final done, Emery, I have some contractors that have asked me to share it with them, and then I'll actually also post it on Facebook on Roundup Community Partners page. So.
Yeah, if we've got the Yellowstone County News, the Billings Builders Exchange, and Facebook, we'll get responses. Okay. The next highlighted item is relating to schedule. Contractors, although the scope of work, again, the way we're presenting this, the pre-construction services has a known phase, and we're asking the contractors and their responses to submit a proposed schedule for the listed pre-construction services. So we'll get to see how long they think that will take. But we do list on the first page that our target date for completion of all construction and renovation is the end of May. I think I'll make myself a note. I think we should make it clear that our goal is for that to include the construction phase services.
Okay.
Yes, and I mean, so I was wanted to ask you guys, I know that's our goal, and we haven't, I may have missed it, Henry, because I just did like a seriously quick read, because I've been so time limited this week. We didn't mention the reason for that short time frame was the temporary roof, so I don't know if that's a valuable piece of information, so they'll understand why we have this short timeline. So I don't know if that's valuable, and if there's a sentence we need to put in there that, what do you guys, I don't want to say, hey, May 30th is our drop dead deadline, and then steer people away from our project too.
Or,
Yeah.
you know, the more urgent, usually the more expensive things are. So you could just say that's a target timeline, you know, like you have, basically. And the idea is that there may not be that much work in this process, and if that's sort of a optimistic view, but if you run in, basically that's saying, hey, you've done your pre-construction, we've done our discovery, we've completed the contract documents. Are you saying by May 31st we would actually be getting their estimate, or
No.
all that work would be done?
All the work's done.
Okay, and that may be possible depending on how much work there is to do, right?
Right.
Having a projected
Particularly
and an
I'm sorry,
actual
go ahead.
contract date are two different things, obviously. So I would have no problem with just saying this is a projected date.
Well, I didn't read it that way. I read construction and renovations and all work completed by
Oh.
May 30th.
That's
That
straightforward.
seems, we want it
That's
done by
very-
May
yeah,
30th,
that's
if you can't, don't even apply.
Could you say the
Yeah.
goal would be, or the
Yeah.
target, or
Or no, the reason
that because it's really based on an assumed scope. The goal is to have all of it. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the way I would word this is the building has a temporary roof, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, Teresa, is it guaranteed or warranted through the end of April or May?
May 26th.
Okay.
So it's warranted through May 26th.
Okay, so the building has a temporary roof, which is warranted through May 26th. The county's goal is to, to re-roof the building at the earliest date possible. And then we'll kind of refer to the contractors. Again, we are requiring that they present their own schedule for pre-construction phase services. And so we'll say, let's see, the building has a temporary roof which is warranted through May 26th. County's goal is to have the building re-roofed at the earliest available date. This will factor into, these dates will factor into evaluation of the contractor's proposed timeline.
I love it. I love it. You like it?
I like it.
You like it?
Yeah.
That
Sounds
sound
good. I didn't hear it all, but I like it. I love it.
Mike, you can't repeat that back to us? Mike just said he wasn't listening.
Okay,
Great.
that sounds great. So that will deal with the, I guess the fourth paragraph, that highlighted area.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the next highlight that I have is in item 2 of the pre-construction phase services, where we're talking about coordinating with the owner's abatement contractor. I just wasn't sure if we want to, I identify Snowy Mountain Development Corps, or if we want to put in the name of your QEP.
No, your language is perfect there. I checked with Snowy Mountain this morning, and she said the contract is actually with Snowy Mountain and not with the QEP. So it's perfect.
Great.
I actually now have the document in front of me with the yellow highlighter. What page we
Oh
on?
no, we're on page 1. Oh.
One. Page 1 of 400.
And then the same paragraph, it's in the print format, it's at the very top of page 2. We're noting that the abatement bid documents will be shared with the general contractor. We listed an estimated date. I don't know, Teresa, if you want to provide an update to that estimated date, or if we just want to say, as soon as the abatement bid documents are available, they'll be made available to the selected GCCM for coordination.
I think as soon as could we do both? Could we say as soon as it's available, the current goal is March the 1st, so that they have so they can see when we're working, and if there's a reason for the delay, I can provide it.
Great.
Does that sound good?
Mhm.
Yes. And then that's kind of it for page 2. Most of page 2 is describing the pre-construction phase services and the beginning of the construction phase services. The next items I wanted to touch base with you guys on is on page 3, when we get to selection procedure.
Okay.
Let's see, we have the responses to this RFP, we'll change that to RFQ/P, will be reviewed and scored based upon the project approach and price, and the 2 GCCMs with the highest scores may be given the opportunity to make a formal presentation, in parentheses, interview, to the selection committee. Oftentimes when we do the alternative delivery method, we include an interview in the contractor selection process. However, I highlighted that paragraph and some of the dates listed below because providing ourselves even a week after evaluating the responses in order to schedule and then conduct interviews with potentially our 2 favorite respondents, it just adds time to the selection process. So would you guys like to include the option to interview, or scratch it all together and say that we will select based on responses?
I like the option. Honestly, sometimes when you do a face-to-face, you get a little different impression
I would agree.
So maybe if we could just make it as an option.
as an option.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Okay,
then,
I'll keep the language in there.
but
That
just,
they may be invited to interview, and then I think I will, in the selection timeline, I will include like, if the owner selects, then we will set aside this week to do interviews.
Okay.
that sounds great. I have a question about the highlighted, the highlighted paragraph, the responses to the RFQ will be reviewed and scored based on project approach and price. When I thought about that for 5 seconds, is project approach, what I really feel like is important with this project, and then I've talked to Randy about, is not only their approach, but also their experience shoring up and leveling the building. Can we add some language in that? What do y'all think about
No, that's a good,
putting
that's
relevant or?
relevant experience team, wasn't there, this is the RFQ, right?
Yes,
Did we give them the criteria we're gonna score off of?
it's in there, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
Can you just reference back to it? It'll be based on the criteria. I'm sure experience is in there, isn't it?
I didn't see it.
Yes.
It is? Okay, I probably missed it.
Yep, it's number 2 in project approach.
Okay, all
Oh,
right.
that's why you said
I
approach,
missed it.
okay.
I missed it, I'm sorry.
Well, but is it better to reference approach or reference, what page you on, I guess?
For,
I think I will keep that language the same, but I will capitalize project approach and price, and maybe add like a comma, as illustrated in kind of, I can probably reference the numbers.
Yeah, you got one, project approach 1, criteria listed, project approach 1, price 2, 3, actually, should it be 2?
Yeah.
And then I
It
think
shows
there's another
something
one,
here.
there's another one called presentation and interview. That's
Yeah, we
optional.
will,
Okay,
yeah, I will add optional to presentation and interview.
but it still may enter into the selection.
Right,
Well, hang on, we will score before, yeah, so number 4, which is really number 3, is almost moot, because we won't even get to number 4 till we've scored number 1 and 2, right?
correct.
All right, never mind.
and I guess, so that brings me to number 2 in project approach. So,
Mm-hmm.
I know past experience, people are gonna put where, I mean, I just feel like we need to say relevant experience, so they know they're presenting what's related to what we're asking them to do, because I know we have some contractors that are interested that have never shored or leveled a building. And I
Right.
think we need to ask clearly for their experience, because this is the part that I feel like is the safety issue, that I wanna be sure somebody has done this and knows how to do it.
You just add the word relevant. Past
Yeah. Well,
relevant experience.
I will beef up the language to that, item 2 under project approach.
Thank
And
you.
we'll ask for relevant experience, working with the selected A&E firm. But I think first we'll actually list, relevant experience with the, scope of construction activities included in pre-construction services.
Yes.
i.e. shoring, leveling,
Perfect.
and that type of work. Because Teresa's absolutely right. A big part of the service that they're providing in the pre-construction phase is making the building safe for other parties' work.
And it is kind of a specialized experience.
Mhm.
A lot of
Oh, absolutely.
contractors with a lot of experiences have it, but not everybody.
And I know that may eliminate some contractors, but that's okay. That's critical to me. I don't want anybody getting hurt on this project.
Oh,
So,
absolutely.
to me, I just wanna be sure they know what they're doing, they've done it before, and
Yeah, and live through it.
lived through it. They got on the other side, so they had some.
Others may not have. But let me ask you, so you mentioned you might kind of help solicit some interest in this by calling a couple contractors. Have you had any interest from contractors that you think might have that kind of experience?
Yes, TW Ridley, who has already been in the building, can definitely get it done. I was pleasantly surprised to find I've had 2 inquiries about when this RFQ is gonna come out from a contractor that we are currently working with on a different historic building job. That group is Jackson Contractor Group. We're now well on our way to completing our second major historic building renovation with them, and they take safety incredibly seriously.
Yeah.
I'm not confident, but I think their company, like literally, I think they're number 2, like in their company's 5, their like mission statement, number 2 is everybody goes home safe.
Okay.
And they take it extremely, extremely seriously. I've done contract administration. I've been on construction sites with other general contractors, and literally the first time I went onto a site managed by Jackson Contractor Group, I told the site superintendent, you guys have like literally everything, like all of the fire extinguishers, fall protection, all of your guys are actually wearing their PPE. And he said, yeah, this is what Jackson does. Like if we do anything else right, we're gonna make sure everybody goes home safe.
Oh, I'm starting goosebumps.
So they definitely have the experience. So does TW Ridley to do a project of this scale and kind of specialized nature. So I think getting responses from either one of those contractors would be excellent, and there are likely a few others that, I mean, we may be surprised by who indicates interest.
Okay.
Excellent, that's good to know. You guys, you highlighted March 24th in there, or have I jumped beyond?
No, you're there.
Okay,
Yep. So the selection timeline and selection timeline proposal and award timeline, selection timeline proposal. There's either a comma missing there or we need to retitle that a little bit. That does include, I adjusted those dates to include interviews with potentially 2 finalists.
gotcha.
Selection of a GCCM to occur, I've got that listed 3 days after potential interviews. And then I highlighted, so that March 24th time is really related to formal selection on the 10th. That's assuming that after selection, we actually sign an agreement with the contractor within 2 weeks. And they begin mobilization.
Well, as a group, we make decisions pretty quickly, so I don't have a problem with that timeline if you guys don't.
And I'm not seeing it, what I'm seeing is March
Page
23rd,
3,
page, okay.
the one that has all this one, that right
Yeah,
there.
but I'm not hearing, seeing March 24th, I see March 7th.
Yeah, and then the next page, top of the next
Oh,
page,
March 10th, okay, never
Yeah.
mind, I apologize, thank you.
it carried over.
Yep.
And then at the bottom, you have
That-
March 24th, okay.
Yeah, I agree with Teresa. I will put in a parentheses there, assume a start date for on-site work of March 24th, parentheses, 2 weeks after GCCM selection. Maybe maximum 2 weeks after.
Right,
Cause that'll give them time to mobilize and hire and do whatever they need.
yep,
And I think that's gonna be perfect timing, honestly, with our hazmat cleanup. I'm gonna call it and hope that the universe conspires with me.
it can happen.
I will too.
You know
Okay.
what they say about a blind squirrel or whatever, even a blind squirrel finds a acorn.
Once in a while.
A clock's right twice a
Once a
day.
day.
All right, never mind.
Right, once a day.
Okay,
Okay, so let's look carefully and make sure that we've included everything we would like to see for scoring purposes in project approach first. So we list basically we want them to tell us about their supervisory approach and include resumes for important peak personnel. We talked about the experience item. I will add as a first consideration, experience with the specialized work to happen in this project, as well as kind of as a second consideration, experience working with high planes on similar scope. A narrative describing their project approach. We're asking the contractor to identify what they believe is the most critical components of providing the listed services. And then a proposed site management plan, including security fencing, proposed dumpster locations, proposed material and tool storage, and proposed job site toilet facilities. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, there are no working facilities in the building.
Correct.
No.
Great. And then proposed project schedule. And that's why it was kind of important to give everybody the same on-site start date. So understanding that we will make selection and expect them to begin mobilization in March. And then we'll let the respondents give us a bar graph schedule, I think is what we asked for.
Yes.
yeah. You know, that bar graph, I mean, you're really talking about a Gantt type schedule, right? A Gantt chart?
Yes.
Gotcha. And you didn't get into level of detail, and that's fine. I mean, it's just, you're gonna have to give us a schedule, and they'll break it
Correct.
down the way they see it needs to be.
Yeah.
Tell them we want a level 6 detailed resource loaded schedule.
I actually did look over this section. This is the section I looked over the most, and I like it. I think it's great. That's my take on it.
All right.
That's how
Okay.
I score 'em.
This is getting scary because we know we're gonna get numbers here. This kind of addresses our
Yeah,
biggest
and our-
risk item.
So I guess the last thing is number 3 is presentation and interview, and I guess we need to add that optional language in there if the county opts to have that. So everybody's scoring is gonna be 200 if we opt to not have the interview, right?
Yep, the best score we
Correct.
can get. And I don't know, we don't tell them how we weight these different things, we just say it's worth 100 points. These different things may be weighted, these 6 items may be weighted a little different, but I don't think we need to go into that level of detail.
Yes, I agree with that. I wanna make sure that we have the information about Davis-Bacon wage rates in the right location. I think we referred to that in our pre-construction services.
I didn't see that anywhere, and we don't require Davis-Bacon, we require prevailing wages.
Okay, prevailing wages. I know Ed referenced it in one location, but maybe it should be included in
As a general requirement, wouldn't it be?
yes. To oh, I'm not finding it. I thought
Yeah, I
Ed and
think,
I
and then
mentioned-
actually it'd be in both, in pre-construction, general requirement, and then also in construction phase.
I didn't see
Right.
prevailing wages, and I did a search for it, so.
Probably needs to be in
Yeah.
both spots.
I will add a note to this document needs a little bit of editing to make it easier to read and follow the sections. Formatting stuff is always my worst enemy. See, I'm just trying to pick the most appropriate location. I agree with Bob. We'll add it as a general requirement, prevailing wages.
I think you might wanna add it in both spots, in your general requirements, general requirements for pre-construction phase, and then you got the construction phase, it's gonna be a requirement there as well, right?
Yes. I think we'll just make sure that both of those sections have statements that the contractor shall use prevailing wage rates, and the contractor shall competitively bid subs
Yeah. Excellent.
under both. Although I don't really expect that anybody would use subcontractors in the pre-construction services, but I could be wrong. We might as well
Yeah.
make sure that's good. Okay. So, I've gotten through selection procedure. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments about project approach, price, or the language in presentation and interview, other than making sure that the presentation and interview is listed as owner's option?
Okay? Not me. I think we should start again from the beginning. No, I'm just kidding. Just seeing if you guys are still awake.